I am an architect. And this picture shows the city that I come from, Beijing, China. And old Beijing is like a very beautiful garden. You can see a lot of nature. When I was a kid, I learned to swim in this lake, and I climbed mountains every day after school. But after I getting older, we built more and more modern buildings. And they all look the same. They all look like matchboxes. Why modern buildings and cities are full of these boxy shapes? In this photo, you actually see two cities. One on the left is New York, and then one on the right is Tianjin, a Chinese city that's being constructed. And they have a very similar skylines. Maybe they also follow the same principle, competing for density, competing for more space, competing for efficiency. Therefore, modern architecture, they become a symbol of capital and power. Chinese cities are building a lot. They also, not only competing for this space and the height, they're also learning a lot from North American urban strategies, also repeat a lot from city to city. So here we call 1,000 city with one face. So as an architect in China, I have to ask myself, what can I do about it? One day I was walking on the street. I saw people selling fish, and they put the fish in this cubic fish tank. So I was asking the same question, why a cubic space for fish? Do they like cubic space? Obviously not. So maybe the cubic space, cubic architecture is cheaper, it's easier to make. So I did this small research. I put the camera and I tried to observe how fish behave in this cubic space. And then I find they probably wasn't happy. The cubic space wasn't the perfect home for them, so I decided to design a new fish tank for them. I think it should be more organic, it should be more fluid space inside, and more complex interiors. I think they should feel happier living in this space, but I wouldn't know because they don't talk to me. But 1 year after, we got this opportunity to design this real building for humans. This is actually a pair of towers that we built in Mississauga, a city outside Toronto. And people call this the Marilyn Monroe Towers because of its curvature. The idea was to build a tower, high-rise, residential tower, but not a box. It's more inspired by nature with the sunshine and wind dynamics. After we finished designing the first tower, and they told us, you don't have to design the second one, we just repeat the same design, and we pay you twice. But I said, you cannot have two Marilyn Monroe standing there. And nature never repeats itself. So now we're having two buildings that they can dance together. So I have this question for myself. Why in the modern city we often think architecture is a machine, is a box? So here I want to see how people look at the nature in the past. By looking into this Chinese traditional painting, I find that they often mixed the nature and the artificial, man-made in the very dramatic way, so they create this emotional scenery. So in the modern city, my question is there a way that we don't separate buildings and the nature, but combine them? So this is another project that we built in China. It's a quite large residential complex, and it's located in a very beautiful nature setting. To be honest, the first time when I visited the site, it was too beautiful, and I almost decided to reject the project because it's you feel criminal, to do anything there. I don't want to become criminals. But my second thought was, if I didn't do it, they would just put, standard urban towers there anyway, and that would be pity. So I decided I had to give a try. So the way we did that was we took the contour lines from the existing mountains, and we took those lines and translated into a building. So those towers actually taking the shapes and geometries from the nature. So each building has a different shape, a different size, different height, and they become the extension of the nature they situated. And people think we use computers sometimes to design this kind of architecture, but I actually use a lot of a hand sketch because I like the randomness in the hand sketch, and they can carry sort of emotions that cannot be made by computers. Architecture and human and nature can coexist together and having good relationship in this photo. Or actually, this guy in the photo is one of the architects on our team. I think he's been enjoying the beautiful nature, scenery, and feeling relief that he's not a part of the criminals. In the end. Back to the city in Beijing, we were asked to design these urban towers. And I made this model. It's an architecture model, look like a mini mountain and the mini valleys. I put this model on my table, and I water it every day. And years later, we complete this building. And you can see how this my hand sketch being translated into real building. And they look quite similar. It looked like a black mountain. And this is how this building is situated in the city. It's on the edge of this beautiful park. It's very different from the surrounding buildings because other buildings, they're trying to build a wall around the nature. But what we're trying to do here is to make the building itself as a part of nature, so we can extend the nature from the park into the city. So that was the idea. A Chinese critic, art critic, he drew this painting. He put our building in this painting. Can you see this black tiny mountain? that look very fit into this painting. However, in this reality, our design being challenged that it looks so different from the surroundings. And they asked me to modify my design, either color or shape, to make the building fit the context better. So my question was, why it fits this traditional, natural context better than the reality? Maybe something wrong with the reality, something wrong with the context. In the very northern part of China, we also built this opera house. It's an opera house next to the river in the wetland park. So we decided to make this building part of the surrounding landscape and then merge to the horizon. The building literally looked like a snow mountain, and people can walk on the building. During the day or when there's no opera, people come here, they can enjoy the views, and they can continue their journey from the park onto the building. When they reach the rooftop, there's an amphitheater that framing the sky where they can sing to the sky. Inside the opera, we have this lobby with a lot of natural light, and they can also enjoy this semi-indoor outdoor space, and they can see the beautiful view around them. I've been building several mountains, and here I'm trying to show you one building. I think it looked like a cloud. It's the Lucas Museum of Narrative Arts that's being constructed in the city of Los Angeles. It's a museum that created by George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars movies. Why building look like a cloud? Because I imagine the cloud is mysterious. It's a nature. It's surreal when this natural element landed in the city, and it makes you feel curious about it and wants to explore it. So that's how building landed on Earth. By lifting this museum, making it floating above the ground, we can free up a lot of landscape and the space underneath the building. And then we can, same time, create this roof garden above the building where you can visit and enjoy the view. This museum will be completed in year 2022, and you're all invited when this completed. So after building all these mountains and clouds, now we're building these volcanoes. Back in China, this is actually a huge sports park with 4 stadiums in it, with 1 stadium, football stadium, and 40,000 seats in there. So it's a very large project. And you see from this photo, you can hardly tell where the building was a landscape. So the building become a landscape, even become a land art where people can walk around the building, they can climb this building as they're wandering in this volcano park. And this rendering shows one of the space in those volcanoes. This is actually a swimming pool with natural light coming from above. So what we're trying to create actually is an environment that blurs the boundary in between architecture and nature. So architecture is no longer a functional machine for living. It also reflects the nature around us. It also reflects our soul and the spirit. So as architect, I don't think in the future we should repeat those soulless matchboxes anymore. I think what I'm looking for, the opportunity, is to create a future with harmony in between human and nature. Thank you very much. Thank you.